Reggie, you think if I put the tip in, just the tip, you think it would react? Guys, welcome back to Exotic Car Hacks, and we are getting first impressions of my latest personal car, the Bugatti Chiron. This is a 2019 Bugatti, and it is amazing. Now, this is my first time personally owning a Bugatti Chiron, which is a pretty good achievement so far in my life. You may have seen I've recently picked up some really incredible cars, and this is the latest one to arrive. Now, we have one more surprise coming for you guys soon enough, as soon as I can get it done. But right now, this is the latest and greatest that's arrived here, and it's pretty incredible. So I'm gonna start this video, first off, by just telling you just one quick thing about buying a Chiron, especially when you're in a position to. It has nothing to do with the car. It has nothing to do with how fast it is. It doesn't matter it hits 300 miles an hour. It doesn't matter how much greater it is than another car. It's a personal milestone that you reach in your life where you can basically say, I can almost buy any car on the road. You basically say, I can buy anything I want. And this is a very big step in anyone's life at any given time. So hopefully some of you will get here. This is one of the reasons why on Exotic Car Hacks in the channel, we never pretend to buy exotic cars. You know exactly who you're out there, like jokester and cartoon characters doing YouTube videos. When you walk in dealerships pretending you're going to talk to the dealership guy by buying another car or buying this Bugatti, buying this P1, buying this, and then you know you go home empty-handed. We never see it unveiled in your channel. You ordered every car, it never arrived and all that shit. You know who the ass clowns are. Even if you have money, you don't need to pretend to be more than you are. You are what you are. You are what you've achieved. There's nothing else to it. Like, it is this. You don't need to do it for the clout, do it for the internet. You're doing it because it is an extension of who you are. So getting to this stage in your life where you can afford to buy a $3 million plus car just because you want to is a real achievement that should never be joked about. It's something that you reach when you actually get there. Because fake it till you make it doesn't work unless you actually get there. And a lot of people on YouTube have seen this, pretending to be going in dealerships, talking about buying shit, never copying anything. People know, they know what your worth is. They know it's the extension of what you're not doing, not what you're doing. But this is a pretty big achievement, and when you get to this stage in your life, you should celebrate it, you should be excited about it, and you should be really proud of yourself to have gotten to a stage where this has become something that is your norm, because that's a pretty incredible feeling, and it's a pretty incredible car altogether. So today, we're going to briefly take a look at what the car is, why it's in my garage specifically, like why did I purchase this particular one, why did I find it attractive, and then we're gonna have a full review once the weather clears up in another video in the future, where I'll tell you my driving impression. I've had a chance to drive this car now 3 times. One time from the dealership, the tires were shot. Second time to and from the shop, we just added a set of HREs that really set it off and looks spectacular. And we're gonna talk about that as well. But the main thing that we'll notice here is that this is a 2019. The reason I bought this particular car is because it still had warranty left, so it still has its original warranty. Now, for those of you that don't know the difference between the Veyron and the Chiron, you may have heard things like Bugatti have $40,000 tires, constantly break down, the switches cost 5-10 grand, and so on and so forth. That was the Veyron. The Veyron was a very specific new car to the market. The Chiron is a very Audi-based product, so it's very much Lamborghini-ish. And a lot of the parts, like the Michelins on the car, not these particular ones, but the Michelins that come with a factory car, are about $10,000, and any shop can install them as long as they have the equipment to install a 13-inch wide tire. So it's not subjective to how it's mounted, it's just the tire itself that's rated at a much higher dollar, which talks to how much the company has come as a company to becoming a streamlined car rather than a very specific for certain people car. So the Veyron was the first introduction to the market by Bugatti for a more accepted kind of hypercar, not just like for the few very well-known collectors. And then comes the Chiron, a much more usable hypercar, which I think you can really see the difference in two. I would still argue probably the Veyron is a more visceral and exciting driving experience, more analog, and this is very much the future, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good. We're going to talk about that as well during the full review. But here you'll notice we've added a set of HRE P103s, and we've added some Michelin PS4 tires. The reason you do that instantly when you buy a Bugatti is because it's very unlikely you're going to drive over 220 miles an hour anyways where you need those tires. And also, if those factory tires get a nail in them or you plan to use your car around town, it's going to be very impractical to keep paying $10,000 for tires and waiting 3 weeks to get a set of tires. So it makes sense to put a set of aftermarket wheels, put a set of Michelin PS4s, and when it comes time to then, of course, swap to the right wheels if you do want to do some high-speed driving and so on and so forth. This is a 2019. It has about 2,000 miles or so. It was bought right here in Palm Beach. It's Glacier White, which is a pearl white color, and it has the transparent black option. So everything you see black on the car is basically carbon fiber, and you can see it as you get up close, but it looks black from far. So from far, everything looks black and white, but up close, everything is basically carbon. And you can come up here and I'll show you, you can clearly see the carbon as you get closer here and so on and so forth. But all of the black is basically transparent carbon, and it's a much darker carbon. Now, one of the things I'll tell you about this particular car was I bought it because it had warranty. Service is included in all the Chirons for the entire duration of the warranty, which is good because this is coming up on its 4-year service, which takes 3 weeks and is quite expensive. And in addition to that, this car was local to me, so I could put eyes on it, etc. And it came from my good friends at Lamborghini Palm Beach, which have done a lot of business with me through all the cars you've seen me bring here, like the STO, the SVJs, and also all the Urus's I've gotten, etc. So it made sense to keep the business amongst family and people that, you know, have taken care of me before, which is why I purchased this car specifically there. And honestly, there was one thing I really hated about the Chiron, which a lot of people may like. I really don't like when the two colors exist here, which bothers me. Like, it's kind of something that's just not as exciting to me when it's like black and then white. It just creates a weird dynamic to the car. The car looks much larger and more exciting when it's just one color and it's separated by some of these accents, which I think is pretty cool. Now, you guys know my favorite color is basically baby blue and white. I always wear white pants. Well, not anymore that much. But you'll notice the baby blue calipers. You'll notice baby blue stitching inside. And one other important thing for the inside is we wanted comfort seats. So this car really met the criteria. And it really, really worked for what I was trying to do with it, which is basically put these wheels on it specifically. Funny story, I had these wheels before I had the car, so it made sense. And I wanted to basically take a color that would work with these wheels and also a color that was just one color with some accents rather than anything else. So this really worked. The car came out very classy, not as cartoonish as some of these half black, half blue colors, etc. And it really kind of spoke to me when I saw it. So I decided, I first walked in front of it in Lamborghini Palm Beach when I was sitting there on consignment. I kind of passed it a couple times. I was like, it's kind of nice, but I was like, yeah, I don't really want a Chiron. And then as I started wanting a Chiron a few months later, I thought of that car. I reached back out to them. We made a deal happen, and here she is. This was originally a South Florida car. It is still in South Florida, which is pretty exciting to keep it here in the Sunshine State. So let's talk a little bit about the Chiron in general. I'm not going to bore you with the regular reviews. You can do that just by going on Google and typing on the Chiron and watching much better professional drivers drive the car, etc. But I'll tell you some very basic first impressions. One, very easy to drive. Something pretty exciting and pretty easy to understand. Car drives like a Bentley. It really does. It drives like a heavy Bentley GT, like the new one. It's beautiful. The gauges and everything, the touching and everything else is very mechanical and exciting. You'll see it here. I'll open this so you can take a look at it. You'll notice a very minimalistic approach to the doors, to the center console, very few buttons. Everything's basically through the cluster and through the little modes. There isn't a lot going on, and I think this is beautiful because it makes the driving really focused driving, and yet it's very comfortable to drive and very easy to drive, which is, again, something we don't see that often. And I really like that. I like the fact that it's usable, drivable, and it doesn't have to be a crazy experience. Now, I wasn't a fan of the P1 or the Senna in the sense that you couldn't really take it out to dinner because it was just so much going on. You would hear all the rocks. It was lightweight. You would hear the engine vibrating the whole cabin, and here you don't. You have a pretty docile driving experience prior to going really fast, which is really nice. Very insulated, very nice. It attracts attention everywhere from every corner. So again, it makes it very, very nice of a kind of takeout and for true car enthusiasts to kind of notice it. One other thing I'll note that is pretty impressive is when you drive the car, the spoiler usually comes up and is driven with the spoiler up. And the spoiler doesn't really go down as easy and as fast as everybody else or everything else. It actually goes down by itself one section at a time as the car kind of pauses, even if the car is off and you've been gone. Something we didn't see with the P1. Because once the car was off, you didn't see any further motion. This, once the car is cool, basically brings itself down. So, you know, some very cool little features, etc. You'll notice, again, the carbon here following through. giving that black transparent thing I was talking about earlier. You'll notice the exposed engine, nothing that's, again, what we haven't seen on the internet, just requires you to pay attention to what you see online. And that's basically it. I mean, my impressions on this so far, I've only driven it a couple of times, but very easy to drive, very fast, sounds spectacular. We're going to take it on the road together in the next video once the clouds clear up a little bit, and get a good vibe for the car inside out. You know, how does it drive? How easy is it to go from a Ferrari, Lamborghini to a Bugatti, from a P1 to a Bugatti, et cetera? We're going to compare all those things. And then one thing I like to also note about the car is I think the only flaw in the design originally are the wheels, because they're just too in. They're just not exciting enough, and they're just internal too much. So having these, you know, more aggressive HREs here gives the car a proper stance and a proper look. And then one cool thing about the car that I've noticed that perhaps people haven't talked about, it has something which is called a stance mode. The stance mode is pretty impressive because every time you stop the car, it actually comes down and gives you a picture perfect height, almost like a race mode, except that it's only when the car's off, so you can take great photos and you don't have to worry about like, oh, okay, how do I put it in which mode to get a good photo so it looks even and cool? Because you can't really tamper or change the suspension on this. So it's just something that's really cool, a cool feature that a lot of people have not been talking about in the videos. And then, of course, they've been talking about the air ducts here, which are really cool, but they haven't talked about how cool it is that the headlights have all of this carbon fiber in them. And then, of course, everyone has talked about the, what you would call the sequence of headlights starting, etc., with all the like sequence. We'll look at all that stuff and more in detail as we go through the full review. I just wanted to give you a glimpse of the latest arrival. We'll have yet another car that's arriving very soon here that is fantastic, of the same caliber, so it'll be exciting to see both these cars. And again, you can see this again, like I was talking about, how it shuts off. But the main point I'm trying to make here, again, is that you guys have to understand that getting here is a surreal moment, and I hope many of you will get here at some point and know what it feels like to purchase your own $3 million plus car. But I'm telling you, you just have to get consistent in your work and get here, and never let anyone take away these moments for you. But more importantly, don't take yourself there mentally saying, hey, I can do this now, if you don't have the power to. Allow the real victory to be what's celebrated, not the pretend victory. So here we are today. For me, a big milestone that I hope I can share with many of you in person next time as we take the car around. This has been just a first look into the Chiron. And again, remember that I have paced myself from Gallardos to NSXs to these kind of cars over the last 20 years to basically get myself up to this point. So you can't go from 0 to here. You're going to have to learn to take and go through the steps, which is why we have the free training here, right here in the description, where you can learn actually how to get in and out of exotic cars and level yourself up to that level where you can drive SVJs, $1 million Ford GTs, and so on and so forth, and eventually get here to a $3 million car. But until then, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will catch you next time on another Exotic Car Hacks video. And trust me, you want to subscribe, because we're going to take this on the road. It's going to be here for a long time, because I don't think I'm going to be able to top myself past this for a little bit. I'll see you guys next time.